Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Reckless Optimist podcast. My name is Megan. I'm a family nurse practitioner with a deep passion for mental health. On this show, we showcase guests who have shown tenacity, grit, mental strength, and who embody the word resilience. A quick disclaimer before we start. This show is not a substitute for mental diagnosis or treatment. We do recommend that if you're struggling with your own emotional well-being, you see a mental health provider. I'm so excited that you guys are here. Let's get into it. Hey everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Tanya. Tanya is a Reiki healer. She's a holistic wellness practitioner. She specializes in substance use disorder and chronic health conditions. She has an amazing energy and it comes through on the podcast. She just has this aura of love and possibility and happiness and joy. And it's an honor to hear her story. It definitely has a lot of twists and turns, but overall, it's a story of perseverance, overcoming, resilience, mental strength. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear it. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, help me welcome Tanya to the podcast.
Hi, Megan. It's good to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you. I'm so excited we could connect. We know each other through the online recovery community, and you have a really cool online recovery holistic wellness business, right? Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So it's called the Peace We Crave, and I had started it a number of years ago, actually right before the pandemic. So you can imagine how that went, not very well. So things really kind of revved up a few years ago, and it's all about stuff that helped me in my recovery. So I do energy healings, coaching, meditation, mindfulness practices. I have something called Level Up Your Sobriety. It's a really cool program that I have, and I just really enjoy working with primarily women in recovery who are in their first year and they're like, what do I do now? Like, what's this whole recovery thing? Because I feel like if I had a me, maybe I would have propelled myself a little bit faster.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's awesome. I am super excited to ask you lots more questions about that business. So we are going to start our episode out like we do with a quote every time. And the quote I have for your episode, since you're holistic and into all of that type of holistic care, is from a book called How Not to Die. Have you read that book?
I haven't, but I've heard of it.
Yes, it's kind of old. I think it came out in 2015. Interestingly enough, a patient gave it to me, and it's written by a physician. And the whole premise of the book is about how nutrition should be the foundation of everything. For all of your health conditions, you can change most health conditions just by changing the way that you eat, which was really interesting because I had actually applied this to my life. I was diagnosed with adult onset asthma last year, could not breathe. I was doing breathing treatments every 4 hours. I couldn't run. And it was debilitating. They were wanting to put me on all of this medicine. And I, on my own, did some studies and went anti-inflammatory with the way that I ate and reversed the asthma by like 70%. And then I read this book after that, and it just like reinforced everything that I had done. But we're going to read the quote. So the quote is, like so many other organs, the brain possesses a miraculous ability to heal itself, to forge new synaptic connections around old ones, to learn and relearn. What does that mean to you?
So when you first sent this to me, I was like, wow, that's a lot there. And when I kind of unpacked it more, I said to myself, oh, I'm so thankful for the brain. I can't imagine being where I was before recovery, or even just being stuck with something that couldn't learn, couldn't change, couldn't grow with me, couldn't help me, like it says, relearn things. And I can do that by myself. I don't have to have anything special or anything like that. Like I could just relearn or learn something at any time. And it's just such an amazing thing that the brain can do that. I'm actually working with a therapist on a lot of this stuff now. And it's just so interesting because she knows I love this kind of stuff. So we get really into it. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that. No, you're right. The power of the brain. And, they talk a lot about neuroplasticity. And what's cool about neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize, is that you never lose it. Even at 99 years old, you still have the ability to reorganize and restructure your brain, which I tell my geriatric patients all the time because I want them to keep learning new skills and habits as they get older to keep their cognitive function intact. So you can keep that neuroplasticity. And that's a big part of alcohol use disorder and addiction because we have to completely change our brains after we go through something like that. And we have the ability to do so. The quote also brings up for me the whole thing of that neurons that fire together, wire together. So basically, the more you do certain behaviors, the more the repetitiveness of it comes into play. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing if they're bad habits versus good habits. The other thing I wanted to say was that alcohol is super unhealthy for our microbiome, right? So actually all of your serotonin is made in your gut. So when you have alcohol and something that's destroying the gut microbiome, you're literally affecting your mental health. So it's so important to realize how nutrition and the things that you're putting in your body for your mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to hear your story. So wherever you feel comfortable, just take us back.
Absolutely. Yeah. So alcohol was my drug of choice, introduced to it very young as there's a photo of my father holding me as a 4-month-old baby. And he's holding me and he's holding my bottle and there was beer in my bottle. And I was told that I drank it. So I don't recall my first drink.
Wow.
So I don't actually, but I do have that photographic evidence. As I got older, it was like alcohol wasn't always in the house, but holidays, they would give me like one of those little sherry glasses. And I'm like 3 years old and I'm like, ooh, I can't wait for them to fill it with the wine. And then the glass would get a little bigger as I got older. And I would get so excited around holidays because I got to drink. Not because I got to see my family or get presents no, it's because I get to have that little thing. And it got bigger and bigger as I got older. And the environment I grew up in I'm from New Jersey, born and raised, never left. I don't know if you can hear it. And I was very isolated as a child. Family was very small, not very social. So I was very kind of almost living under a rock in a way. So there's a lot of things I didn't understand. I think I was around like 12 or 13. My father was like, you need to know what it's like to get drunk and we're going to do it under my roof. And I'm like, okay. So at the time he used to get those bottles of wine, that wine club delivered to his house. And we had some of that. I think I drank about 2 bottles by myself, probably. And I walked upstairs and I was so happy and excited. The room's spinning and I'm passing out and I hear my mother like yelling at my father, like, what'd you do to her? But I was so happy. Because like it says in literature, Bill said I had arrived. And I felt like I had finally found that thing to stop everything in my head, all those voices, all that noise, all the bullies I had growing up and all the people who said, oh, you can't, and you're this and you're that and you're whatever. Like that was all gone. And really when I got to college was the worst part. I was finally free. I was away from home. I said, oh my gosh, I can do whatever I want. So whatever I wanted turned into blackout drinking like most days of the week, to where I was a dean's list, A, B student, very good in school, where I was almost failing out my first semester. And I made a choice, not a great one, but I made a choice. I said, I could either continue to drink like this and go where it's going to take me, because I kind of had an idea, or I can just control my drinking. Like I'll just drink on a schedule. As the good perfectionist that I am, I had a drinking schedule and I had all kinds of schedules, and it was exhausting and as crazy as you can think it can be. And I did that. And my drinking was confusing because I didn't drink every day. And some days I would have 2 and be done and fine. And other days I couldn't control it and I didn't know where it was going to take me. So where that not knowing was the biggest kind of why it was so confusing for me. I didn't understand why sometimes it was okay and sometimes it wasn't. I met my husband in college. We got married after college, and then he started to really see what was happening. And he gave me an ultimatum like 2 years into our marriage, and I chose to go to therapy, where I had a therapist tell me because I didn't drink every day, I wasn't an alcoholic. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm fine. So I stuck with her for a little bit, and then I lied my way out of that because I wasn't being honest. Let's be honest. I wanted to keep doing what I was doing. And it wasn't until August of 2013, where I was down the Jersey Shore. I actually went to the bar where Snooki used to drink. I saw her stool that evening. I do recall that. And we had left for the night. I remember it was like 8 o'clock. I had been drinking probably all day. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and then I woke up in a hospital. And it was probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. Don't know how I got there. Don't know what happened. Apparently, I was belligerent, very mean. They had cut my clothes off. They strapped me to the gurney. Never had that happen before. So I finally started having an actual consequence. And the doctor looked at me and she goes, you had a blood alcohol content of 0.330. Like you should be dead. And I said, oh, because for me, it was just a normal day. I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. But the way they looked at me when I came out of my blackout, like they had these horrible looks on I'll never forget their faces. Like this look of horror, like this horrible woman is here. We can't stand being around her. And then I come out of it and they're like, oh, you're not horrible. Kind of okay. So I never seen people look so scared before. And what she said really stuck with me, because I sat there and I was like, after everybody left, I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And then my next thought is, well, something maybe not die. And then I was like, oh, that's a stupid thought. Like, what am I thinking? That's silly. Then my husband wanted to leave me there, but I convinced him to come get me. And then that was my last drunk. So the next day is my sobriety date, August 5th of 2013. And I have not had a drink since. I went right to 12-step program 6 days later. I rolled in right off the street. These poor people had to deal with me. But my thing is that I didn't want to die. I really didn't want to die. And they weren't dying, they were living. I saw them. It was a 7 a.m. meeting, Megan. It was a 7 a.m. meeting because I'm an early riser. And they were happy and they were laughing and they had all this stuff and there was these beautiful cars in the parking lot. And I'm like, how is this possible? You guys must be drinking. There's no way. But I found out that what they did. And I did that. I've been through the 12 steps multiple times. I've taken other women through the 12 steps. And I'll say that the 12 steps are for everybody. I will say that. But for me, they were a good starting point. They got me to a place where I could then, a few years into my recovery, actually start really looking at myself. Like the therapy I mentioned, yeah, I started doing that like year 5, right? So I'm still doing this therapy. I'm with a different therapist now, but I'm still in that journey. Because it is a lot to unpack with a lot of the stuff I dealt with too. There's some things in the story I didn't mention because they're very difficult. But there was some violence. There was some a really abusive man and some other horrible things as well. And just, I have a lot that I need to work on. But if I didn't get that like foundation of recovery in the 12th step, I don't know where I personally would be. But since then, there's so many other recovery programs out there, and I've explored so many different ones, and I found a really good group that I really like right now, and I'm kind of doing that in AA, and I'm doing stuff like this in my business. So I feel like everything that I do is in an effort to keep me in recovery every day. So if I'm just sitting and meditating, I'm taking a walk, I'm going to a meeting, I'm talking to you, putting a post on social media, whatever it is, like I feel like it's all to support my recovery. And because that's the most important thing to me, because I don't have that, I have nothing. Like I won't have a life. So I always tell people if I ever drink again, you won't see me. I'm done. Like I know it because that's where I was going. So,
Wow, that is an amazing story. I have lots of questions about it. One is, how old were you when you got sober? Because you had to have been pretty young.
I was 29.
Okay. Wow.
So it was like 11 years of really the worst of it.
Yeah. You look really young. What is your secret?
Well, it's partially genetics. My mother is in her 70s and does not look 70. So I have that.
For the viewers, this girl, I thought you were literally 29 right now. But you know what the secret is that you got sober. That was the secret.
Yes. And I don't have all this crazy in my life either. The chaos can give you gray hairs.
Right, right. So, yeah, I wanted to ask some questions about, you were married at the time, correct? When that happened?
I'm still am. He did not
Okay.
leave.
Okay.
He stuck with me. I don't know how, but he did. And we're still together. We're coming up on 20 years of marriage, actually.
Oh
We were
my
very young when we got
gosh.
married. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's incredible. So, some questions there. Is he a normie? Is he sober? What's his relationship with alcohol?
I love that you asked that, Megan. He is the kind of drinker that he gets his wine glass and he drinks half of it and throws the rest away.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
And he drinks like once or twice a year.
Yeah. There's some people that can do that. Me and you, we're not those people.
No.
That's
And
so
I used to
funny.
hate it. I hated it because I was like, why don't you drink like me? Come on, let's do shots. And
Hmm.
then now I love it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a reason why we were together and why we stuck.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
awesome. I think, some people can maintain a relationship where one person drinks and one doesn't, but it's a little bit hard because you're on different energy frequencies, you're on different levels. If someone's taking it to the extreme, are you gonna have to take care of them, babysit them? There's some resentment there. It can be a tricky dynamic. It's not that it can't be done, but it can definitely add some challenges.
Yeah.
So the Jersey Shore, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
so funny.
It is really funny.
I got very drunk at the Jersey Shore when I was about 22. What is the drink there that everyone drinks like in a bucket? Some type of Long Island, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe I have no idea. Just drank whatever, so I don't even know.
Yeah, I think I had like 12 of them. It was wild times. But now you're someone who's in long term recovery, right? 11 years. I mean, that's so impressive. So, what's that like for you? Because, like, in my experience, and you have way more than I do, but I would say year 5 and up, I'm 6 years, you get a little restless, and not in the terms that I have any desire to drink, but like, it's like, where is my place in the recovery world? I go to these recovery treats, and they're some of my best memories of the year, but I'm not a newbie. I don't really need all of that how to curb cravings type of education. So how have you found long-term recovery, and what do you do now to keep you sober?
Yeah, I felt that way around year 5.5. I was like, oh my gosh. And that's the reason why I started my therapy journey, actually, because I felt like I was actually ready. And one of my women in my group was like, oh, honey, it's time. We all do it around year 5. I'm like, okay, like, whatever. So I guess I'm right on schedule. I don't know. Because I kind of felt that. And I saw people disappear after year 5 as well. And I
Mhm.
see people disappear in a year, but for some reason that 5 to 10 can be very challenging. So for me, it was I try to surround myself with people who have more than me and also less, depending on where I'm at. So if I
Mhm.
feel I really need some really good, like solid, like here's how you live a life when I have women in my life who have like 45 years, 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember them when they had less than that because I've been around for over decades. I've seen them go through things that, older people, right? Retirement, spouses pass, like end of life and how they're navigating that. And I see hope there. I say, oh, you can have long-term sobriety and do still navigate these things. And they were talking about drinking. Imagine hearing somebody with 45 years say they felt like drinking. It's mind blowing. But she's like, I'm an alcoholic. Of course. Like, duh. Like, of course I think about drinking. I mean, duh. And we were like, oh, okay. So that kind of normalizes it in that way. If I'm sitting here at 11 years thinking about a drink, okay, she has 45 and she's doing it. She just lost her husband and her kid and her this and her that, and she's navigating life. So I'll surround myself with those people, but then I still have to be around people who have like a day because I have to remember. I have to hear the stories. I have to recall what it was like in that state because I'm a little separated from that now. So I sometimes forget what it's like when I had 6 days and I rolled into the room and I was like crying. So I have to make sure I surround myself with both of those people. That kind of answers both of those questions
Yeah.
because I need to hear all ends of that. And then it's funny how I know people who are around my time and how kind of we are navigating things. It's weird because I'm typically the youngest in most of my circles just because I did come in my late 20s, but a lot of people don't till 40, 50. It's interesting having conversations with someone who's 20 years older than me, but only has like 10 years, like the same time I do. It's kind of interesting conversation as well. Because in recovery, we're like the same age.
Yeah,
So we're kind of
exactly.
like talking about the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's community. It's really being around others who are like-minded individuals, whether that's a sober event or not. Maybe I'm at some type of like a wellness event or yoga, but life stuff still happens regardless of whether we're sober or not. So I can always learn from anybody. My biggest thing is making sure I'm always learning. I'm always keeping my ears open to what's going on around me and picking up those little pieces on how when that happens to me, oh, I know 10 people that happened to. So I know how to navigate it or I know who to ask, which is
Hmm.
also good, having that
Yeah.
network.
Yeah. And those mentors for sure. What was that first year like for you? I mean, you were young. 29 is young. So what were you feeling? What were you thinking? Were you Hot Mess Express? Give us a rundown of that first year.
I love Hot Mess Express. That's amazing. My friend was Hot Mess Express. We used to literally call her Hot Mess. We didn't even call her her name. We just said, "Hi, Hot Mess. How are you?"
That's
And
so
she is
funny.
self-identified that way too. She's like, "Yep, that's me." She has since just graduated with her master's degree, so she is
Wow.
like killing it
Yeah.
and getting a license clinical psychology. So yeah, that's what we do in recovery, y'all. If you didn't know, like that's what happens.
You can graduate from Hot Mess Express
Yes, and you
with
cannot
honors.
be. Yes,
Yeah.
and have a beautiful family, and she has this life. It's incredible. But anyway, like she's somebody I look at because I remember her like day one, right? So my first year sucked. I don't know how else to say it. That's why I like to help people after they get After that first year, I don't know if this is your experience. You're learning how to do everything for the first time. I'm going to my first wedding and not drinking, my first birthday, my first holiday, my first family event. And it's like a whole bunch of firsts. And you're like, how the heck do I do this? And how do I go to this thing? And how do I go to work? And how do I be with this friend who still drinks? What do I do here? So that's why it sucks, because it's confusing and it's difficult. And luckily I had good people around and they kind of helped me along. And then once I got to the second year, it was like, well, I did that before. I know what to do. Or someone told me this thing, I didn't do it last time, so I could do it now. And yeah, I could totally get through the holidays and not drink like I did it last year. And I honestly still use that sometimes. I'm like, well, I did it last year. I think I can do it this year.
Yeah. Have you noticed those events to be more fun the more time you have?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like the clarity of thinking everything is so much clearer when I'm not putting a substance in my body. I remember looking up one day and I'm like, oh, the sky's really blue. Has it always been that blue? Oh, that grass is really green. Has it always really been that green? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like the birds chirp? I didn't know that. All that kind of stuff you start to notice. And then as you get clearer and clearer, every 7 years, your body regenerates. So after 7 years, none of the cells in my body know anything about alcohol. It's almost like I felt new in that way, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I just recall this particular event that happened recently. I was at a family wedding. My husband's cousin was getting married, and I'd never met her father before. Like I knew of him, but never met him. But we're talking, and I go, "What's that tattoo on your arm?" He goes, "Oh, it's my sobriety date." And I go, "Oh, really?" And it was like 2017. I'm like, "I got sober in 2013. I got more time than you." And he was like, "Really?" So we had this instant connection, right? And I'd heard of this man. He'd heard of me, but we had never talked. And we were talking. Like it was like we knew each other this entire time that I've been with my husband. Like talking. And we had these amazing conversations, and then we drift off. And then later we'd see each other and be like, "Hey, how you navigating this? How you doing? Like what's going on?" You have that kind of connection with people because they understand what you're going through. And events like that, like I remember every single thing about that wedding. I remember every single thing that I said, that I did, that was said to me, how the bride looked, how the groom looked, how the conversations I had with them, like all the decoration, all the thing. I love events like that. Weddings are so fun, right? But big events like that, big parties, like I'm like, oh, that cake's so pretty. And instead of being like, oh, where's the bar? Got to get the drink. Like, let's get in line. Like, all those kids are in line. And I'm like, I'm not in line. I'm going to sit here and look at this and take photos of that and do all this stuff. And you guys aren't even going to notice it. So I really notice stuff, which is so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting what you're talking about. Concerts, weddings, like those events when you're in drinking phase, it's all about the alcohol in the bar. Where am I going to get the drink? But when you're sober, it's actually about all of the different experiences that you have. And it makes life just so much better. I loved your analogy about seeing how bright the colors were, because I felt that too. I felt like I was like seeing things in technicolor. Yeah. Like my life before when I was drinking, because I started drinking really young, like you, not as young as you, but I was quite young. But my life before was in black and white. And then in sobriety, it's in like vivid color,
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about being a young person drinking. That probably really made, like you said, that first year you had to do everything for the first time because you literally had alcohol had been right by your side since you were born. What was that like growing up? Were you known as the party girl? What was your drinking like when you were young?
Whenever it was around, I was the one that you were going to find slumped over in the corner before anybody, where's Tanya? Oh, she's over there. Everybody knew that's what was going to happen. And the more alcohol that was around, the more they knew it. I would jump around to different friend groups, so it wasn't always the same people. But then typically what happened is when it happened with enough people, they would slowly kind of go away from me because they were like, oh, we can't deal with her. She's way too much. And I had to find new people. So I was that chameleon constantly. How can I fit in to like get what I need? And then once I turned of age, I was like, forget about it. Like I can just kind of do more.
Yeah. What's been your greatest blessing in recovery?
I really think it is really the clarity of mind. I feel like everything is in not just focus, but super sharp focus. And I can really concentrate on something and really be appreciative. A few years ago, we went to visit the Grand Canyon. It was like on a bucket list. And if I'd done that drunk, I would have been so mad because what we saw, and we were only there for 3 hours, but it was like, I can't even believe that this is a real thing in the country I live in. Like how crazy. And I got to experience it. And we were like walking really slow. And we were just kind of taking it both in. Like me and my husband went. So we were just taking it both in. And I was just like, at one point I was staring out and of course we were crying because we're both very emotional, but I was crying because I was just so happy that I'm able to actually see this and remember it. And a photo does one thing, but when you're actually seeing it, it's just without words. Like I can't even describe how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
So that's really my greatest blessing in recovery.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really beautiful, like, life God moment. Just one of those marks in your life that you vividly remember and has so much substance in your life. I wanted to ask you a few more questions about your recovery because that part's really cool. How did you come to create this business that you have? And I also wanted to ask you, what was it like sponsoring someone for the first time?
Oh, let's start there. Yeah.
Okay.
That was wow. So I many years that I have, probably like 2-ish, I'd say, something like that. And I had my first one and it was a train wreck. She was all over the place and it wasn't very good. And I was just so angry because we would say we're going to a meeting together and she wouldn't show up. I'm like, what the heck? Like, don't you understand? Like, you're gonna die. Like, what are you doing? And I heard my mother's voice in my head, like, what are you doing? And it was so, she probably heard it. So she like, ran away. I don't know what happened. But the first few people were like that. But it was very hard to give this gift away when people didn't want it. And I felt kind of dejected and I felt kind of, I had a very good sponsor, also people around too. And, they were kind of watching me and they were like, well, why don't you kind of just back off a little bit? Stop mama hen doing them. So when I started backing off a little bit, and not being so critical, I started to attract people who really wanted to be sober. And I had some really great experiences with that, bringing them through the book and events. And yeah, really letting go of their sobriety really helped me with the whole sponsorship thing because as much as I can't control anything in my life, I can't control them. I mean, they drink again. That's nothing to do with me. I thought it did, thought I was a failure. I did.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't have anything to do with me. It took a few of that happening before I actually really got that. And then it was interesting too. I had sponsored somebody for like a year or so, and then they kind of drifted away. And then they came back to me. And I was like, oh, what do I do now? Like, what do I say to her? And I had some suggestions and she didn't like them because I was saying, well, like, do the work in a nice way, but we got to do work, right? We can't just sit around. We have to do something. And she just didn't really want to hear that. And that happened a few other times too. And then I've sponsored women so well that they're just like, I want to work with somebody else and all these things happen and or they move away. So the sponsorship is very interesting and also with its challenges too, because I learned a lot about myself and as much as I learned about them, and I really learned a lot about boundaries too when I was sponsoring. And I don't have to save everybody.
Right.
I thought I had to save everybody. I don't.
It's so interesting because I have never sponsored anyone, but I see patients in my clinic for these types of things. I have a family medicine practice here in Georgia, but we see all different types of patients. But if there's anyone struggling with addiction or alcohol use, I'm like, let me see them. Like, I'm gonna save them, right? In the first 4 years, I thought I could save everyone, but the odds are against you when it's with addiction or alcohol use disorder. It's very hard to remain in recovery. That first year is really hard for people. So I had this savior complex, and I think learning to give up some control over that, being a guide and being there for them and knowing they can come back to you is really all you can do. And you have to let go of your grip on their outcome.
Yeah.
Because it'll drag you down.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us about this amazing company that you have. I'm really excited to hear about all the things that you do.
I really want to know what it's like to be able to sit by myself and just be okay. So that's really where it started. And I started on this journey of trying to just be okay with myself because I don't know if you relate to this all, Megan, but like I couldn't sit in a room by myself without thoughts going crazy. I hated myself. I hated everybody, but I hated myself. I couldn't look in the mirror, like all of that. And I can look in the mirror and say, I love you today to me, which is another gift. Probably a blessing I should have mentioned before. Not to hate myself is like one of the best things too. I became really passionate about finding this peace. And how do people get that? Like, how does a monk sit up on a mountain and get that? Like, how does that happen? And that happens through a lot of work and recovery, but also happens through a lot of the practices that I do and that I ultimately do teach. So my meditation practice is like number one, the most important thing. I remember sitting there for the first time, like for 30 seconds, and that was all I could do. And then I did a minute, and then I did 5 minutes, and all of a sudden I'm doing 10, and I'm like, whoa. And then, now I can sit for an hour in silence, and I'm I'm fine. Right. And I never thought I could ever do that. The last thing I did that was really so cool that I was kind of working up towards was I went on a 10-day silent Vipassana course. 10 days of silence. Yep.
I've never even heard of a
10.
10. I've heard of like a weekend, but never a 10 days.
10 days.
Wow.
And I did it. By day 7 or 8, I was getting a little squirrely. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do this, but I made it. I did do it. But I was sitting, I was practicing. I went camping by myself for a few days, kind of like worked up to it. And I was there with a woman who had never meditated in her life and was there. And I was like, how are you here? Like, what? I have to work up to this. This is a lot.
Yeah.
I had heard about this thing in 2009. I didn't do it till 2024. I had had it in my brain for a long time because I've been craving this peace for such a long time. Bottle couldn't get it. This couldn't get it. The relationship, the this, and that. It was an inside job. Really, the peace is really in there. So the meditation practices, and then the energy healings. We talked about Reiki a little bit. I do that. I also do pranic healing as well. I just love all these energy healing modalities, sound, all that kind of stuff, because that helps relax. It also helps promote any kind of healing. Studied people who had Reiki and people who didn't, and they were getting cancer treatments. The people with Reiki tended to have better outcomes. Now, what that meant is individual, but they tended to. And I'm like, well, that's good enough for me. Like, I want to have a better outcome. So I was getting the healing done. I also developed a really horrible chronic pain condition while in sobriety, one of my many bottoms that have happened without me drinking, but sometimes we talk about other bottoms in recovery, emotional things. And that was one of them. And I sought out an energy healer, a Reiki master, and she looked at me in my second session and she goes, you need to be a healer. And I'm like, what? Me? Who? What?
Mm-hmm.
So that started me on that journey. I'm an advanced master teacher now, working on becoming a certified pranic healer as well. And then I started coaching with a friend. And I said, oh my gosh, like I wish I had you when I had year 1. Like I really wish I had someone guiding me in this way, because she does yoga and all kinds of other modalities too. And I said, I wish, why didn't I have this? I'm like, I need to offer this to people because it helped me so much. It really, like I said, leveled up. I felt like you could power up in a video game. I felt like I was like powering up every time we met and we did certain things. And all these practices kind of started to meld together. And I was like, I wish other people had this. Like, where was this for other people? And I feel like it's so all over the place. And I feel like I can bring it together into one place so people can get that peace we crave that we all want.
Yeah.
And not have to go all over the place searching for it. Because if there's a modality out there, I probably have tried it.
Yeah.
And know something about it.
Yeah, I love what you're doing, especially, doing it for women in recovery, like that specialized population. I think that's great. I, for so long, thought life was finding happiness, right? So I would crave happiness. I would crave the dopamine hit. Now in my 40s, I have learned it's peace. Peace is what we should be craving, peace and contentment. And have you ever, I'm going to throw this to a movie reference. Have you ever seen Life Aquatic with Steve Azuzu?
No, I haven't, but I've probably heard of it.
Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite movies. It was not a hit at the box office, but now it's like a cult classic. It's from like 2004. Bill Murray. I literally, in my office, I have all of his like posters from that movie on my wall, on this wall over here. And so basically the reason I'm bringing it up, the whole premise of the movie is, so Bill Murray, his character, his best friend is killed by a shark. They're like scuba diving documentary people. And the whole movie, he wants revenge on this shark. And the shark, we find out later on, is symbolic for sadness in life. And instead of like killing the shark and being happy about killing the shark, you learn the whole symbolism of the movie is that we have to learn to accept sadness, and that the duality of life is joy and sorrow, and the peace is what we crave, the peace and the contentment, rather than resisting the suffering and constantly seeking joy.
Yeah, it's really in that resistance where we got into a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But it happens, and it's part of it. And accepting that, like you just said, all those different waves of emotions. We're just living a human life. Nobody gets out unscathed. We all suffer. Sorry, we all suffer, whether we're drinking or not. And to have those moments of peace where they're not so few and far between, but they're more frequent. That's really what I look for personally.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. And I believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And the human experience is all of the emotions, the good, the bad, greed, jealousy, sadness, sorrow, happiness, all of it. We can't avoid any of them. We have to accept all of them. But that's also the beauty of life, is to feel all of those things instead of numbing out with alcohol or drugs or whatever, you know? Yeah. The Reiki thing is so interesting. I actually did Reiki. It was okay. So I had this bucket list. I have what's called like a 40 before 40. So 40 things I wanted to do before I turned 40. And then I had it for 30. I had 30 things I wanted to do before I turned 30. I've done this every decade. And like my 31, that was like, I was still drinking. So it was like lots of fun, party stuff, athletic stuff. But my 41 was like lots of new challenges. See a Reiki healer was one of my things. So I went to this like fancy place. It's called Serenbe. If you're from Atlanta, you've heard of it. And this Reiki master worked on me and it was amazing. I mean, she like helped all of these energy blocks. Like, tell me if this is normal. I got really nauseous through it when she was breaking it up.
During
the
session?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to use the word normal because it's just like it's your experience and everybody it reacts to the Reiki energy or any energy healing differently. I have a woman who has to go to the bathroom for quite a while after because that's how it releases for her.
Yeah.
I've had people cry on my table, scream, yell. I'm a crier. I tend to cry, but I also like will convulse. So some people will shake, but it's all your experience. And some people, they just sit there, but it's all your experience with the energy, and the energy knows what you need and how you need to react. And it knows you can't have all this reaction right now. Or maybe that's for session 5 or 6, you're going to have all these reactions. It's so different every time too.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the nausea during the healing process. And then afterwards, I felt amazing. I felt light. I felt free. Afterwards was great. And I just thought that whole experience was so fun, like to try it out. I think all of that energy medicine is really interesting. Ever since I was little, I've always been very perceptive to people's energy. I mean, we're made of energy and we're all connected energetically to consciousness, regardless of if you believe in energy medicine or not. We are energy. That's just science. But interesting thing about me is I have always seen like color radiate from people, like auras, just like I look at someone and I don't know if it's more of a feeling or I can actually see the color, but I like associate colors with each people that I know in my life.
That's so cool. Have you ever tried the aura photography?
No.
Just look into that.
What is that? What's that about?
There are people who they have certain cameras that can actually record people's auras. Wow. There's a Reiki healer that runs the International Center for Reiki Healing, and he was sitting giving a lecture, and someone took his auric photograph, and there was a lot of green and red coming from him at the time. So he's like surrounded by these colors. Yeah, but they change. They're not the same all the time.
Yeah.
But how big they are. If your aura is very tightened in, that's when you're not doing too well. When it's nice and big like that, it's great, but then it interacts with other people. So then you got to work on that too, like you said. So,
that's so interesting. I find all of this work so interesting. And I love that you do holistic care. What are your goals moving forward? What are your goals with your business? What are your goals with sobriety?
Well, I want to stay sober. Number one, like I want to do that. And I don't want to lose the newness of it, because I still feel like I'm learning. I haven't gotten to the point where I feel like I know everything, and I don't want to ever get to that point because I don't think I'll ever really know. So I want to make sure I always stay in that I'm learning. I don't really know everything. I think with the business, I really just want to reach more people because I feel like I have this amazing gift that I really do want to share with the world. And I'm just looking for ways to do that. And I'm trying to get that out there more. So whatever that looks like, I think maybe I wasn't so open to it before because it can be kind of scary, but I think I am now. Like, I think I'm really ready to, because I was like, hey, we got to talk, Megan. Like, we got to do this thing.
Yeah.
I want to get this message out to people.
No, I love that. I think that's great. And I think it's great that you're going for it. At the end of your life, you're going to be more thankful for the things that you did and the things that you went for and the risks that you took than the things you held yourself back from and didn't try or let the fear of failure hold you back,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to be on my deathbed like, oh, I regret not XYZ, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I have one more question before we get to our lightning round. It might be a heavy question, but I need to know, what is the relationship like with your father now?
It's not very good, mainly because they're not very supportive of my choices. And I've been push drinks on in recovery by them after I told them I don't drink anymore. Like, stop. Like, no. And it's interesting that a lot of people, I think it's because I really drank at home and my husband saw the most of it. I don't think they really understood what was happening or what was going to happen, because I feel like I kind of stopped it before it got really, really bad, which is a great place to be. I wish everybody could get to that place if they have to get out before you can. So they're not very supportive. Also, a lot of other family members, besides, I mean, that one gentleman I met at that wedding, a lot of people in his family too aren't very supportive. They don't understand it, mainly because they don't understand and they don't get it. And it's also hard to educate when people aren't willing to listen. So that's kind of what it's like. It's very like, okay, that's that thing we don't talk about, much like many things, right? We don't talk about that. We kind of stay over here and that's all we do, which is how it's always kind of been with him. So I don't think it really changed all that much. I think it made him more confused, but he doesn't want to actually acknowledge it. You know what? And honestly, I used to get very mad about that. And now I'm like, you know what? That's how you want to deal with it. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you let go of your expectation, kind of like how you did with the sponsees. Is that what they're called, sponsees? Yeah. That's some good life lessons. I mean, yeah, what you're talking about is so interesting that a lot of people avoid talking about sobriety. It's because it holds a mirror up to them, right? Like I remember when I came out sober, this big, social media post, and then I went to work that day. Nobody, said anything to me about it, and I'm like, like, you guys can ask me, like, it's okay. And a few people will say things here and there, and now obviously my life's different as a recovery advocate, and then also too, like dating too, like most guys will not discuss your sobriety with you at all. And now I have a boyfriend now, and how we ended up talking was he was the one who said, he swiped up and he said, my favorite thing about you is that you're sober.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, having that support is really critical because my husband, he's very happy that I'm sober.
Yeah.
Like, he's so happy. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't always get it, but he doesn't have to. He can just see the result. And I want to say too that he went on his own spiritual journey after I got sober, and he's now working a lot of things on his own, which is really amazing. So it's like we're on this like really amazing spiritual journey together. It's just wild.
Yeah.
And that's another blessing too, is I just absolutely love that we're on this same like wavelength
together
with things.
Doing it together. Yeah. I love that. Have you ever heard of the term spiral dynamics?
No, actually, no.
So it's what you two are doing. So basically you're constantly going to higher levels of consciousness when you have those awakenings and like working on yourself and all of that. So you guys, I'm picturing you two just spiraling up.
Like we're ascending concentrically. Yep, we're going up.
Yeah. You're ascending concentrically. Yes. Up into the spiritual prophet.
Love it. That's great.
I love it. Well, we have come to our lightning round of our episode. I ask the same 5 questions to every guest. So the first question is, you're given 3 options and you have to do one. You have to. Okay.
Got it.
Shark dive, bungee jump, or skydive?
I'll say shark because I hate heights.
Okay. All right. What about, you like sharks?
I like animals.
Okay.
So at least I'll be near animals.
That's true. That's true. All right. Number 2, you're in a simulation, and every time you walk into a room, the same song plays. What's your song?
Schism by Tool.
Okay. All right.
That's actually me and my husband's song.
Really? I love that. Yes. Well, because you grew up in the 90s. So yeah, Tool was big back then.
Yep.
All right. Number 3, what's your favorite Disney movie?
Little Mermaid.
Oh, that's a good one. That honestly,
that's my first one I saw when I was 5 years old.
I think that had maybe the best soundtrack,
Of course.
So
she had all the cool stuff.
Yeah, she did. She had lots of cool things. Yeah. Number 4, what is something you're obsessed with?
Oh, gosh. I'm obsessed with buying books but never reading them. Like I'm looking at a stack over here and I have a stack over there, and it's kind of embarrassing.
Oh, so funny.
Get all these self-help kind of books. Like I have every Brene Brown book there is, but I've only read 2 of them.
She's great. I'm obsessed with her. Obsessed.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad obsession, but it can take up some space.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 5, last question. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means that I can wake up without a hangover and be clear-headed throughout my day and not have people upset with me or whatever because I don't remember what I said or what I did or how I acted, or I know everything I did today and I can remember it all. And to me, that's freedom.
Yeah. I love that. That was a great, great answer. I love it so much. It was such an honor to hear your story. You have amazing energy. I know I'm not with you personally, but I can feel it through the screen and I can tell you're going to do great things. And, especially the fact that you're working with women in recovery, like, I just think that's so special. The work that you're doing is really cool.
Thank you so much, Megan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Bye, girl.
Huh?